issue was big for us. That issue is still on the table, not Vietnam anymore, although actually Vietnam still, because Vietnam still is not recognized by this country even today, even though it should be. But how the United States treats the rest of the world, the ecology, international, there's all sorts of issues for your generation that will affect your well-being, but you don't have anybody in the White House who wants these issues on the table. We were fortunate. John Kennedy was able to and willing to talk about these kinds of issues, but I won't hog this point.
I want to say the issue that I talked about, HIV/AIDS, that is literally killing the African American and Latino community. And Africa. If you know anything about it, South Africa, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 9 people is HIV positive. The number of, the majority of new cases for babies born with AIDS are African American. The majority of new female cases with AIDS are African American. It is not a white disease. It is not a gay disease. It is literally killing the black community. We're going to become 2 communities, HIV positive and HIV negative. And you're going to have more of a black welfare state because of HIV than anything else. They're going to be on Social Security, et cetera, and they're not getting the meds, they're not getting the treatment, and so forth. And the education. And I was telling Jan, I saw a study done on black college women in California who were sexually active and did not use birth control of any kind. The majority of the women in this particular study. And they were aware of the use of condoms, et cetera, but they did not use them.
With that
I
said,
think that in the issue of continuity, in listening to the areas raised by Kenni and Delores, if you'd research, you would find that black graduates from Stanford have important roles in all of these areas: health, law, politics, education. And I think you need to, in order to maintain the continuity, is to be in touch with them and sort of demand that they make a commitment to support what it is you're trying to do once you establish your programs. But you cannot name a field that's been discussed that African American graduates from Stanford don't play critical roles in all of them. And I think they need to be made aware of. I get back quite often, but they need to be made aware of what it is you're trying to do and how important it is for them to assist in the process.
Okay, with that said, I would like to thank the panel. I also want to thank Ujima House for sponsoring this, Erica O'Neill, the resident fellow here, and I think Devin was instrumental in doing a lot, as well as Asia, Leslie, and the other RAs. I hope I haven't missed anyone in helping us out. Also want to let everyone know that this is not the complete panel for tonight. We will have Bob Hoover, who's a longtime East Palo Alto activist, also Omawale Satterwhite, and I think he was Frank Omawale Satterwhite, who actually read the demands.
That's correct.
The microphone. He will be there tonight as well, and that will be tonight, 7:30 in Cubberly Auditorium, and we'll close out with last comments from Tom Massey.
Just one more, just before you go. Can I say, do any of you know who that guy is in that picture? that St. Clair Drake. Yeah, he was on the faculty here, but he, as I understood it, he was a great sociologist and writer. And I'm sure he's not around anymore. But as I understood it at the time, he was not allowed to have a he couldn't get full-time tenure. Isn't that correct?
No, I don't believe that. We recruited him to chair the African American Studies.
Okay, but I'm talking about when I got here in the early 60s.
Oh, he wasn't here yet when you got here.
Right.
He came after the 1968.
Okay, all right.
He came the following year, I guess.
Anyway, he was
Yeah.
quite a great man, and you all should, indeed know who he is.
He wrote a book called, wasn't it called Black Metropolis?
Yes.
Yeah.
About Chicago. It was a
Yeah.
very influential book.
Groundbreaking study.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom?
Thanks for that.
And could you please give context of how long you've been here, and you being a student here?
I was a junior here when all this was going on, and these are really heroes, all of them. Everybody on the stage is a hero. Warren is the godfather of the place you are in. He's the godfather. He's the architect. And I'm not overblowing this, because I sat on the committee that helped get us a concentration dorm. He was in one of those dorms in Wilbur. He and his wife were in one of those dorms in Wilbur. But the next year, the following year, he went with his wife and children to Robley for 4 years and really put the message and the information and the history and the culture behind what you sit in today. So he truly is one of the godfathers. She is the mother, first lady. She was there on that banister in Tresidder as one of the only women there. As we all looked up from the bottom, all of us, juniors and freshmen and sophomores. Kenni was just a huge force during that year, even in ASSU, as I recall. Charles was, all of these were older people, quote unquote, to us. They were more learned than we. They had more background, they had more education, they were graduate students, and we really looked up and really followed their lead. And the person, Dick Lyman, was the person who we had to come to, take, or let us take the mic from. But over the time that he was the president of this university, many of the changes, certainly the seminal changes that have gone on in the black community came under his administration. So these are not insignificant people. We're not doing a fest here. We're really talking about your history. And if you don't take advantage of the history while you're here, I still have a question. I really had a question for Dick.
Okay.
I always wanted to know, you won't be able to answer here, because it's a long answer, I'm sure. We always wanted to know what was going on in the administration's mind, or in your mind as president, as you had to look out. We wanted to know the real, as we say in the black community, the real skinny on this thing. How are you reacting emotionally as well as intellectually to all these things? Because your tenure began with us really kind of coming to the institution and really wanting something that had never been given anywhere in the country before, especially at a predominantly white elite institution.
I'd say something, I'll be as quick as I can about it, because unfortunately, as you know, I can't be there tonight. Obviously, there were many different points of view and so on within the administration, I'm sure, but those of us who were most seriously engaged with it, I think had a really weird mixture of emotions, because obviously we were tense and concerned. We knew that the BSU had the campus behind it to such an extent that if they wanted to shut the place down, they could. But it's usually described as if the administration gives as little as it thinks it can get away with and still come out whole. That was not the way we felt. We felt, sure, we had to respond negatively to some of the demands, or some parts of some of the demands. We made some kind of a response to every one of the 10. We also felt a sense of exhilaration, because it was a nationwide trauma that was happening, and we had a chance to play a small part in one place in bringing to an end an exclusion over the centuries that was wrong. And I think if people don't understand that there was some idealism as well as some cringing fear at work, they don't really understand how we responded.
Okay.
I want to ask Dr. Lyman to one more thing. There's Herbert Packer, you remember him,
Yeah.
of course. His daughter, I think, came out with a book. I heard her on NPR about 6 months ago. Are you aware
No,
of
his
this?
son George wrote a book called Blood of the Liberals, which is
I heard
about
his
his
daughter.
grandfather and his father and it covers this period among others.
I
It's
heard-
very
I heard-
interesting.
Okay, maybe I heard the daughter
She,
commenting on
there
the
is a
book.
daughter who's written a novel, which I think is about to appear, but I don't know that it has anything to do with this or not.
Okay.
I also want to give another thank you to Irene Sue, who got all the food for us today. I know that was a lot of work, because Popeyes is no longer close to Stanford since they dismantled Whiskey Gulch. So I want to thank Irene for that. Any other comments or questions? As I said, there will be more people on the panel. We have more interesting, more questions tonight, and I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today. Thank you.
Thank Yeah, I'm back there, man.
Well,
No, no. Back there. 11 years. Yeah.
that's why I'm saying. You like any important people. My wife would want to be remembered to you. You know,